Weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 68, tonight cloudy with a low around 49, and Thursday a chance for rain with a high near 64. Don't miss Sasha Colby's Stripped 2 tour, an electrifying blend of dance, storytelling, and drag artistry at the Fillmore Minneapolis on October 9th. Tickets at thefillmoreminneapolis.com. Listen to The Gaily Show and The Matt McNeil Show all week long to win tickets.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live at 2 p.m. from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing weeknights at 8 p.m. on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to the Gaily Show. I'm your host, John Parker. Jim Pounds, executive producer, in studio with me.
Hello, everyone.
In the control room today is Brett Johnson. Brett, can I personally thank you for the amazing weather that we're having here in the Twin Cities?
Wow.
You know, oftentimes I get complaints when it's bad weather, so I'll take that when we get nice weather like this.
I'm giving you the gift of holding you personally responsible for the great weather that we're having here today, because it was gorgeous on the drive over to the station.
Which means it's coming to Chicago, maybe, yeah? The nice weather, I hope.
We're magnanimous. We will share that with
right.
our friends now in Chicago. What is on the show today? So Christopher Kane, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, will be joining us in the second half hour. We'll be talking about his reporting around how RFK Jr. is terminating the National 988 Crisis Lifeline for LGBTQ youth. The Democrats have reintroduced the Equality Act, and we're also going to talk about the White House Correspondent dinner. Also, Supreme Courts just don't understand gender. We're going to talk about a couple Supreme Courts that just don't get it. Speaking of Supreme Courts, the U.S. one is going all in on turning our schools into Christian schools, with a case that will decide if public dollars can fund a Catholic charter school in Oklahoma. Obvious implications for LGBTQ students. We're not going to get into this, but I just want to point out what the heck is going on with Michigan Governor Whitmer hugging Trump just after a secret meeting at the White House where she was using folders to hide her face during a photo op in the Oval Office. Like, is she actively trying to kill her chances of getting the Democratic nomination if she runs for president?
Wow.
Like, I feel like her and Gavin Newsom are sort of trying to duke it out about who's tanking their chances the worst right now. But anyway,
I don't think Gretchen Whitmer had a chance of being the Democratic nominee for president, no matter what she does.
Not anymore. There's so much video now that can be used for opposition. Anyway, in Minnesota, real quick, I want to share that we still have some free tickets to give away to Sasha Colby, who's going to be at the Fillmore in Minneapolis this October on the 9th. Again, it sounds early, but tickets are going to go fast. They just went on sale, which is why we've grabbed some. We want to give them to you. That's why you tune in to AM 950 Advance Notice. So for folks who don't know, Sasha Colby won Drag Race season 15. She's been called a legend of that whole series, all the different iterations of it. The show is called Stripped 2 Tour. So there was the Stripped Tour where it was what I mean by stripped is that she wasn't it wasn't X-rated. It was a personal show where she was talking about her life, memoir, incorporating that with dance and music. And now there's going to be, again, a blend of dance and storytelling and drag artistry, but telling more stories outside, as part of the community, not just like her own personal story. So the show is Thursday, October 9th, 2025. I've got 3 pairs of tickets, actually, now that I can give away. So the next 3 callers, they're all yours. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We do ticket giveaways on our Blue Sky as well. So if you're on Blue Sky and want to go to @thegaileyshow.org, you can send me a direct message there, and you can win a pair of tickets to see Sasha Colby's Stripped 2 tour. It can be at the Fillmore Thursday, October 9th, 2025. What I want to get to first is a story that will drive me into an early grave, which is the economy. And I know there are a lot of LGBTQ folks who have IRAs that are freaking out right now, and are just generally watching, their businesses try to navigate the tariff environment. And I just want to say that it's going to be a colossal failure on the part of the progressives and the Democrats and the center left if any American walks out of this administration thinking that MAGA is good for business. This has been absolutely bonkers. Here, I want to pull it up here. Not only did we, for the first time in a few years, shrink in our growth, but we have had stocks are going up and down. Where is the article that I am looking for here? We created less jobs last month than we were planning on doing.
Well, a lot of times the government can't always control the economy, but it's rare for a leader of a country to do something that all economists, no matter their politics, warned him not to do. If you've taken one economics class, tariffs are, the third rail, and that they just escalate. And so for him to do that, to deliberately destroy a good economy put together partly because of Joe Biden, is a kind of hubris and ignorance and ego and mania and all that other stuff that we've come to expect from him. So we're not used to seeing the president drive the train literally off the track on purpose, but it makes you wonder what his sense of the rest of us that are back in the train behind him, what we're doing. I don't think he thinks about us at all, whether we're Republican or Democratic.
Well, to your
Not
point,
one bit.
He said in a meeting today of his cabinet that he acknowledged that tariffs are going to result in fewer and costlier products in the United States, this per AP News. And he said, quote, American kids might have to have 2 dolls instead of 30 dolls.
That's spoken like a billionaire.
I mean, Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake.
Yep. Well, that's all he's ever been, is an entitled
The U.S.
bore.
economy shrank at 0.3% the annual pace for the first quarter of this year, which was reversed a gain of 2.4% and was the first in the previous quarters of 2024 and was the first time it had gone down in 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
3 years.
But, economies go up and down, stock markets go up and down, but they usually aren't deliberately attacked by the United States government. It's rare, in my experience anyway, for the government to deliberately harm 258 million Americans on purpose because he has a bug up his ear about the tariffs is how he's going to pay for anything. It was a childish notion. Nobody supported it. All the people that are working for him in the administration should never be hired again because they've gone along with this. They've done this to you too. Not just him. He doesn't know what he's doing. All these people that are around him are doing this to you also, to your family, to your future. And so you should have a lot of resentment built up as this goes forward.
It's the payroll provider ADP reported that companies added just 62,000 jobs in April, half of what was expected, and down from 147,000 in March. AP News saying that this could be a signal that businesses are taking a much more cautious approach to hiring as they try to figure out how the tariffs are going to affect their overall revenue. And I just want billboards. Somebody needs to, I don't have the money to do it, but I want somebody to put billboards all over rural America that just has his face and bad for business.
Well, or the Republican elephant, right?
Bad
for business.
For business.
Yep.
I don't think that anybody should walk out of here. We need to hit this point home over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, like they did trying to say that Biden's economy was terrible. Over and over and over and over again. The Republican economy never works for working class people.
Right.
It never works for folks unless they are, the 1%.
Buying their children 30 dolls.
And
it works great for them.
it is so.
Well, one thing
Frustrating.
that people are doing is they're not looking at their IRAs. They don't want to see how bad it is. And I have done the same thing. I've got an IRA statement and I should go look at that. And the next time we do a show here live, I will report what my percentage difference is from the beginning of the year. So I should do the same thing, and I'll give you that percentage on Monday.
Well, it's again, everywhere that you can, the dinner table, Thanksgiving, Mother's Day, Father's Day, summer solstice, billboards, blue sky, everywhere. Just be hammering the point home. They are bad for business.
Yep.
All right.
Agreed.
Supreme Courts do not understand how the LGBTQ community works, which is, that's been going for a while here. But now in the UK, we're going to talk about the story in the UK, and then we're going to talk about in Ohio. In the UK, approximately 50,000 doctors, 50,000 doctors of the British Medical Association have said that the UK Supreme Court has made a recent ruling that has no basis in science or medicine while being actively harmful to transgender and gender diverse people. They went on to say that the Supreme Court is scientifically illiterate.
That's a good word.
As it comes to the biology, the real biology of human beings.
Imagine how bad our U.S. Supreme Court is. If theirs is illiterate, ours must be Cro-Magnon or something. I don't know.
The British Medical Association overall stance will be determined at a June conference. The High Court, the UK Supreme Court, said that the definition of sex is binary. There is only male and female, and person who is not born as a biological female cannot obtain the legal protections the act affords to women by changing their gender with a gender recognition certificate, the court ruled. The 50,000 doctors said, where does that leave intersex people?
Well, the civilization that doesn't go forward goes down.
If it was a subgroup, of a thing, you'd be like, oh, okay, what's happening here? The British Medical Association is the largest doctors' union in the United Kingdom. 50,000 doctors telling the UK Supreme Court that they are scientifically illiterate.
Yes, I think you've made that point, and I think you're right. I think they are.
We're going to talk about here, we're going to take a break. We have to talk about the Ohio Supreme Court as they relates to gender-affirming care for youth. You can check out more progressive news talk at am950radio.com and also at heartlandsignal.com. Stay tuned. More on The Gaily Show after this.
Is your remote workforce putting your company at risk? Cyber criminals are targeting your employees with COVID-19 inspired emails and attacking businesses like yours. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. Rymark has the tools and expertise to enable your employees to work securely from home. If you need help getting your staff to work remotely and securely, call 651-328-8900 or go to rymarkit.com. That's 651-328-8900 or rymarkit.com.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP, or visit snapconstruction.com.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. And we'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I am your host, John Parker. It's about 21 minutes past the hour. I am fired up today, I can tell, and I'm sure I'm just probably sounding like I'm ranting into a microphone. But when you have 50,000 doctors tell a Supreme Court in the UK that they are scientifically illiterate, that just makes me feel so angry. Speaking of feeling feelings, I am in my feelings about the Ohio Supreme Court. Despite the fact that the lower courts haven't determined the constitutionality of a law passed by their legislature to ban gender-affirming care for transgender youth, the Supreme Court just stepped in and said, yeah, go ahead, implement it, and let the courts figure it out, and then we'll decide what to do later. And this is frustrating because you are now denying care. And the bill, so people who are already receiving care now have to stop receiving care. And what does that mean? That means for children under the age of 18, what you are most likely on in terms of medical treatment are puberty blockers. Okay? Puberty blockers do not create any lasting issue. Like there's no like damage to it. The problem is that when you start taking puberty blockers, then you're going to, if you're a trans girl, you're going to start, your body is going to start changing unnecessarily so. And the same for trans boys. The surgeries, quote unquote, that are happening rarely are for teenagers, not children under the age of 12. I want to keep reiterating that. No children in the United States under the age of 12 are receiving surgeries to change their gender. The surgeries that are happening for folks in their teenage years are breast reduction surgeries that primarily are performed on cisgender boys. Okay? Cisgender boys are the ones who are, the majority of whom are receiving breast reduction surgeries. Then there are trans boys who are also receiving those, but at a much lower rate. And obviously it is safe if our cisgender boys are getting this, then it must be safe for our trans boys to do that as well. But it also, this law prohibits mental health professionals from diagnosing any child with gender dysphoria, without also considering other concurrent mental health conditions. Yeah. So this is also overruling an Ohio judge earlier this year that issued a block against the state ban. Now the Supreme Court has intervened to say, yeah, go ahead, implement the law. We don't care about the actual science and medicine of treating trans and non-binary kids. Just go ahead. Science. Talk about scientifically illiterate. Another story of courts behaving badly that we're covering, and this one has implications for LGBTQ kids, but is obviously for children across America. This is going to have broad implications. There's a case in front of the Supreme Court that was argued today that was about from Oklahoma, which would be publicly funding religious charter schools. And it was a 2 hours of arguments today. And the court does seem divided. It's all going to come down to John Roberts. Surprisingly, Justice Amy Coney Barrett recused herself, didn't explain why she recused herself. AP News noting that she previously taught law at Notre Dame and is close friends with Notre Dame law professor Nicole Garnett, a leading proponent of publicly funded religious charter schools. That would seem ethical, actually, if Justice Barrett was like, I'm going to step away from that one, something that her other colleagues on the court refuse to do, even though they're getting paid money by billionaires who have worked cases before the court, and they continue to sit on those cases.
Right.
At risk here is that taxpayer dollars would then be sent to charter schools run by churches. And in this case, it's around a Catholic church that is running a charter school. The problem that I have with that is that we are continuing with these religious exemptions, and with now, if we're going to use taxpayer dollars to fund charter schools run by religious organizations,
right,
we're going to have now taxpayer dollars going to schools that are going to be basically anti-LGBTQ spaces.
Well, even more, I want to. This is an issue that I can get hot about, so I'm going to be careful here. But there is no question, nobody has ever made the argument to me that public money meant for public schools has always made sense in this country. It's one of the few things that have elevated the middle class in this country above many other countries in the world. Public education. So to take public money and siphon it off to a whole variety of different other types of schools is someone's right for their own money. If you're rich, if you're religious, if you think school only exists to develop job skills, you can create a different school as long as it meets academic requirements. You can do that, and you can pay for it. Don't ask us to pay for it. Not one dime of public money should go to pay for anything other than public schools. Period.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. And this is also coming in Oklahoma. So not only do they want to take taxpayer dollars to fund religious schools, they also just put a mandate that Oklahoma's state schools place Bibles in their public school classrooms.
There's about 30 states in this country I would get the crap out of if I were you, and you can. I know that's easy for me to say, but if you can get out of there, I would get out of there. That's my opinion.
It's so frustrating that we've already created a two-tier legal system where you can have the law, and then a religious person can go in and say, oh, that's against my faith, so I get an exemption from the law.
Being a decent person is against my faith.
Undermines separation of church and state.
Right.
And the Supreme Court, the U.S. one, has continuously said, yep, we can have all of this.
Right.
How far does that go, though? It's not only just a slippery slope.
Well, it shouldn't even go one step in that direction. It's anti-American to put religion in front of the public good.
But what laws then govern? What laws can then govern?
Well, that's why
people in religious organizations.
The public interest sweeps away any religious point of view, except in your own home. You may do what you wish to do or think how you wish to think in your own home.
But at what point is stopping the Catholic Church, the Presbyterians, whomever, from making an argument saying it's against my faith tradition to pay taxes? Therefore, I should have a religious exemption from paying taxes.
There should be no religious exemptions for anything.
They're using them to go after the
Yes.
LGBTQ community.
Yes,
So
they're
once you
used-
open that door,
Religion,
where does it stop?
Religion is often used as a weapon. Often, in fact, majority of the time
Gotta
used as
fit
a
in a
weapon
break.
and never should be.
We got to fit in a break here. When we come back, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, Christopher Kane, will join us.
Yay.
You are listening to The Gaily Show.
Hey, it's Tom. As the birds begin to sing and the days grow longer, there's no better time to spring into savings than now with All Energy Solar. Spring is perfect for home improvements, so why not choose a project that saves you money and helps create a cleaner, greener planet? While solar panels require an initial investment, the savings on your energy bills quickly add up. With a lifespan of at least 25 years, your system from All Energy Solar can save you tens of thousands of dollars over time. Act now and you can still take advantage of the 30% federal tax credit. Plus, you may qualify for additional incentives depending on where you live. The future is uncertain, but with solar energy, you can lock in your energy rates for years to come. With All Energy Solar's experience and expertise, they'll guide you toward a greener future and unlock the full potential of solar power. Take the first step toward energy independence and a greener future. Get a free consultation today at allenergysolar.com. That's allenergysolar.com.
Hi, this is Desi Doyen of the Green News Report and the Bradcast. You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
This is Andy Otto, your host of Twin Cities Pride Amplified, inviting you to join us this Saturday at 3 p.m. as we dive into one of the most complex conversations in our community, the intersection of religion and the LGBTQIA identity. We're joined by longtime Twin Cities Pride supporter and volunteer Michelle Gunderson, who believes there's room at the table for everyone. Please join us this Saturday at 3 p.m. right here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AM 950 KTN up, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hey, it's Patrick. Spring showers may bring May flowers, but they also bring big savings with Zero Res. And right now, you can beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. Zero Res removes winter's buildup and lingering odors, giving your home a fresh, spring-ready feel, preparing your home for the brighter days ahead. Just check out the almost 21,000 raving customer service reviews online with a 4.9 Google rating and see what all the hype is about. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified from Minnesota's #1 carpet cleaner starting at just $119 and take $75 off an air duct cleaning as well. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res right now at 9520-RES or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Spell it backward or forward, it's the same. Zero Res.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 68. Tonight, cloudy with a low around 49. And Thursday, a chance for rain with a high near 64. Since 1984, Cafe Latte has been a hotspot for American eats and desserts. Enjoy gourmet salads, sandwiches, and soups with a unique cafeteria-style setup. Don't miss the pizza and wine bar offering gourmet pizzas and over 30 wines by the glass. Explore the bakery for fresh treats. Located off Victoria and Grand, more at cafelatte.com.
Broadcasting live in the 2 p.m. hour from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing weeknights at 8 p.m. on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I am your host, John Parker. It's about 33 minutes after the hour. In studio with me is our executive producer, Jim Pounds. Founded in 1969, the Washington Blade provides award-winning journalism covering political, financial, healthcare, and international news, as well as local stories to Washington, D.C. You can read them in print online at washingtonblade.com, and on their website, you can sign up, subscribe to their newsletters. You can also become a member of the Washington Blade. There are 3 membership levels to support their award-winning LGBTQ journalism. Each membership level comes with its own benefits, including ticket giveaways, swag, and more. You can sign up at washingtonblade.com. Christopher Kane is their White House correspondent. He joins us from D.C. Christopher, hello, welcome back.
Hi, friends. How are you?
Loaded question.
They're gonna hire you as a advertising person, right?
Hey, gotta support LGBTQ newspapers.
I know. I agree.
And speaking of, so Christopher, why don't we start with your coverage of RFK Jr. over at Health and Human Services is terminating the 988 crisis lifeline for LGBTQ youth. Maybe we can start with what was the lifeline and how did it work?
Sure. So a lot of something that's often overlooked about this is that it was actually put into place by an act of Congress during Trump's first administration. So it is a crisis lifeline for people that are experiencing mental health crises, suicidal ideation, that kind of thing, to call and get support. And there also was a feature where if you hit 988 and then hit 3, you would be connected to counselors who are trained on providing services to LGBTQ youth in crisis. So a really important program that was expanded under the Biden administration. And now, according to a draft of a budget that was first reported by the Washington Post last week, it looks like HHS is sunsetting this along with a lot of other things within HHS. So,
do we know the call volume, like how many kids they were working with every year?
So, oh geez, I don't want to quote you because I don't remember exactly, but I believe it was in the height, which was leading up to this year. It was something like 2,000 calls a month, or something like that. So it's a lot. It's a pretty high volume. And now these are fielded by experts that contract with HHS, groups like the Trevor Project that you may have heard of.
Who also were going through some funding issues.
Yes.
Earlier this year, running their own very famous and necessary LGBTQ hotline. Do we know how much? Like, are we really going to save money by doing this? Like, they're all about cost savings right now. So do we know when they X out this program, what the budget was for it?
I don't recall what the budget was. I imagine that if you were to look at it as a line item within HHS's overall budget, that it would be really almost negligible, really small. So, and this is part of a restructuring effort where LGBTQ youth services are being rehoused under something else now. So we don't know exactly what it's going to look like and whether there's going to be any kind of any trace of this program 6 months, a year from now. I believe October 1st is the date that it's going to be sunset. So we're looking into the future now, but again, this is part of a bigger pattern of slash and burn at this agency as well as the federal government.
And it's kind of what you were talking about, John, where there are so many states that are not doing right by their citizens anyway, that the national government says, well, we'll offer this service because at least people will have some option. If they're in, God forbid, Mississippi, they can, they have a place they can call, and now that option will go away. So it's inhumane at its best, I think.
Do we, I mean, they found the budget, but has there been any rationale provided beyond is this a Doge thing? Is this a restructuring thing? Like, have they put out any rationale for why they're doing it? Or is it just a general, we hate the gays?
Good question. So on this item, it looks like this is coming from RFK Jr. And there still I think we have to do some more reporting to figure out exactly, whether this is going to be put into place. It was a draft of a budget again, so we're not entirely sure yet. What I can tell you is that there's been a swift reaction. I mean, I think I reported that story on Wednesday of last week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. And on Thursday, there was a large protest organized by the Human Rights Campaign that I stopped by at HHS headquarters. Dozens of people, they did a die-in, which is kind of a classic gay rights form of protest going back to the days of HIV in the 80s. So there's certainly been backlash against it.
For folks who don't know, the die-in was where a group of activists would go in and lay down in front of a particular building, and sometimes there'd be chalk outlines, but it was basically like, these are the number of folks that you're letting die every day or every week or every year from HIV and AIDS by not acting. And it was a very visually compelling and scary, like visual to see that. And so when you're, that is when we say it was classic and it came from ACT UP.
ACT UP did that, in streets and in churches and it was very in your face, and it was kind of hard to deny or look away from.
Christopher, you were saying that this is part of a restructuring. I don't know. Is decimation of HHS the correct way to describe what RFK is basically doing there? This is a part of a larger pattern of things that he's basically just axing left and right.
Right. I think so. Yeah, I think that's a fair way of putting it. And we're seeing disproportionately, this is really hitting our community really hard. To Jim's earlier point, this is really inhumane. We're talking about, youth in crisis, transgender, gay youth in crisis that desperately need help, that are not going to have this lifeline now. It's coupled with the cuts to funding and research on HIV/AIDS, which is something else, of course, that impacts our community disproportionately. So it's part of a broader pattern here.
I can't recall reading this now. I know RFK has had some absolutely egregious, basically espousing eugenics when it comes to people living with autism. He's been saying this month. Does he believe that transplant people exist?
I just speaking. This is a little bit off topic, but I just saw he was saying that the more fluoride that we drink, the dumber we become. Which, I mean, his views.
I was trying to answer that question.
He's had a lot of fluoride.
His views on science and medicine are so wacky. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I mean, he believes that HIV doesn't cause AIDS. He believes that poppers cause AIDS. He believes that.
I retract that question. Yeah. I don't want to know what he believes.
I know. We can talk all day about this, unfortunately.
We're talking with Christopher Kane, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. And other news that you've been covering this week, the top Democrats in Congress have reintroduced the Equality Act.
That's right. So I've been doing this a few years now, and it was kind of funny. I got to the place they call the Senate Swamp, which is on the east of the Senate building, on the steps, behind, and ran into some people that I hadn't seen since last year at that exact same location where they reintroduced the bill again. The Equality Act has been in Congress now for well over a decade. It passed the House twice in 2019 and 2021. What was really interesting about this year's reintroduction, and I can't recall exactly who was there last year, but this year, we're talking top leadership from the Democratic Party in the Senate and the House. So you had Chuck Schumer, who's Democratic leader. You had Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Emerita. You had Catherine Clark, who's the Democratic whip in the House. You had Cory Booker, Tammy Baldwin. It was really a Sarah McBride, first trans member of Congress. It was a really powerful showing of the top brass for the Democratic Party, which to me signals their interest in really passing this thing. Jeff Merkley, I must also mention, because he is one of the sponsors, and he was there last year as well and has been a huge champion. So definitely sending a message of unified support here.
What is so it started as the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. And I know it's been in for a long time. Can you help our listeners recall, what is the Equality Act aiming to do?
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have gotten into that. So the Equality Act would codify federal non-discrimination protections based on discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in areas from housing to employment to jury service to lending, just across the board, education, and so on. And so this, as you said, initially the Employment Non-Discrimination Act was a bill that passed one chamber. It was either the House or the Senate years ago now. It was never signed into law officially, but that was broadened to also include these other areas where members said, we don't want discrimination against LGBTQ people in any facet of public life, right? So it became a more ambitious bill, but not so ambitious that it was not able to be passed. I mean, again, it passed the House twice. Under the current leadership of both chambers, it's going to be certainly a heavy lift. So we'll see what happens. But one of the interesting things that Nancy Pelosi said was that that the business community understands that having non-discrimination rules is good for them. And so she believes that there's perhaps an avenue for businesses, for America's business community to pressure the Senate and hopefully also the House to pass this.
Can I? That feels a little
passe.
A little. Disingenuous, given how we've been watching Fortune 500 companies trip over themselves to do everything they can to support MAGA and get rid of all their diversity, equity, and inclusion. It just feels a little, passe. Maybe not disingenuous, just a little passe, a little too we don't live in that time anymore.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair reading of things, but I also think that regardless of what companies say publicly or what language they use in their DEI and moves that we can interpret as conciliatory or an effort to ingratiate themselves with this administration, I think that companies broadly do understand that discrimination is bad for business. So regardless of what their DEI policies look like, I do think that most companies are really standing by their rules on discrimination and are adamant about that. I'm speaking in generalities, of course, right? But the business community generally, that's kind of my read on it.
Did you get a sense of why this time around there were more of the leadership there?
That's a really good question. So I asked the lawmakers, I was like, can you comment on the fact that this is coming on, this reintroduction is happening on Trump's 100th day in office? I was like, I can't imagine that was a coincidence, right?
Right.
And they kind of it was Congressman Mark Chicano from California, chair of the Congressional Equality Caucus, who answered my question initially, and he said, it was not necessarily timed that way on purpose, but it's now a good opportunity to, it was also on the heels of some of the polling that we saw over the weekend, which showed that Trump was his numbers are kind of underwater. So he made reference to that also in saying that now is the time to present a unified front and fight for equality because, Trump's agenda seems to be faltering.
I don't know. Well, I am super cynical these days, but I feel like he was underwater and had the worst polling of any modern president in history, obviously any modern president, and we're still stuck with him. So it's this weird, people don't like his policies but keep voting for him situation that drives me absolutely bonkers. But
the Equality Act is what we always should have made a priority. There was this discussion in the gay community about is it marriage equality that's really important, or these kind of rights that are more sort of bread and butter rights, if you will? And somebody decided to put marriage first, and I kind of wish it had been the other way around, to tell you the truth. But anyway, that's fine.
I think that's a really good point, Jim. And also I would add that, years ago when the Equality Act first came up, when it was broadened to include
Can
areas.
I interrupt?
Yeah.
I've got to take a very quick break. We're going to have more with Christopher Kane, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. After this, stay tuned. You're listening to The Gaily Show.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. Over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Women, are you ready to empower your wellness? Join Hypercharge Health and Skin Deep Aesthetics for an inspiring evening dedicated to your holistic well-being. It's Empower Your Wellness, an evening for women, happening Tuesday, May 13th from 6 to 9 o'clock p.m. at 7450 France Avenue South, Suite 240 in Edina. This exclusive event is your opportunity to explore innovative approaches to health and beauty with insights from a panel of wellness professionals. Topics include integrative medicine, personalized concierge care, hormone balance for energy and sexual wellness, aesthetics and body contouring to boost confidence, and support for your mental and emotional well-being. Come learn, connect, and take meaningful steps toward a more vibrant, empowered you. Tickets are just $75, and the full amount can be applied toward a future service. Space is limited, so don't wait. Reserve your spot now at hyperchargehealth.com or call 952-247-4785. Empower your wellness because your health, confidence, and peace of mind matter.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Hi, I'm Philip Anthony, the host of the Downright Upright Show, which airs every Saturday at 5 p.m. On my show, I interview captivating and influential guests, but the first Saturday of every month is the co-host show with my two amazing co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Austin, and I'm here talking about Minnesota politics.
And I'm Matt Amundsen, and I'm talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
So don't forget, every Saturday at 5 p.m., the Downright Upright Show with Philip Anthony. And I hope you're all feeling fantabulous!
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease, it'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
Welcome back to the Gaily Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. It's about 9 minutes before the top of the hour. I'm your host, John Parker, with Jim Pounds, executive producer here in the studio. We are talking with Christopher Kane, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. I kind of want to dish now about the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This was your third year of going, and so I tell me everything. Tell us.
Sure. So it was a bit of a departure compared with previous years. We got 2 tickets this year. I brought the spokesperson for the Senate Judiciary Democrats. And we were actually seated with reporters from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And it was overall, it was a good time. And it's always an honor to be able to go to the dinner. But it was certainly, I mean, I'm sure you guys are aware, like there was no comedian this year. Nobody from the administration showed up. I shouldn't say nobody, but nobody was recognized officially, right? Like, so the president didn't come, and the press secretary, she may have been there, but I didn't see her if she was. So it was certainly a more, I guess, for lack of a better word, maybe a somber occasion than it usually is. I've said for years, we need to stop pretending that it's anything other than a party, because that's all that it really, that's the whole point of it, right?
How did it, so if you were there the previous, that was under Biden. So how did it like compare then to, I mean, so you're saying subdued, like was there a speaker?
No. So there was not a special guest who spoke. The Eugene Daniels, the president of the White House Correspondent Association, spoke very movingly, I thought, about press freedoms and, we're kind of rebuking this idea that the Washington press corps is the enemy of the people, and things that President Trump has said about us. I think very powerfully, but no, there was no kind of special guest, and the program was shorter as well. So we got out of there by like 10:30, which is early compared to previous years. So,
oh, when does it start? 8?
No, 6, I think.
Yeah, oh wow! Oh, that's so.
It's a long program, and a lot of it is honoring recipients of the scholarship awards, and also there are a series of awards that we give out at the dinner. So. Right. And everybody kind of speaks when they receive the award.
Right. Wow. What did you wear? No, I'm joking. It is a fashion event now, too, doesn't it? I mean, they do a red carpet, don't they?
No. That's right. Yep. There's a step and repeat, I guess, a red carpet, whatever you want to call it. But it was, the difference between last year and this year was huge, right? Like last year, Scarlett Johansson, Colin Jost. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before that I saw Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. I mean, it was like a star-studded event, right? This year, I didn't see a single famous person that I didn't already know. That's, I'm exempting like the Washington famous people, right? Like I talked to Senator Klobuchar at the dinner, but
Right.
Oh, Minnesota Senator Klobuchar.
Right. Yep.
She'll talk to anybody. God bless her.
She loves the party too, and I love that about her.
It's one of those. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It's the big event of the year, right? For the journalism core of DC, right?
Yeah, they call it the nerd prom.
Well, Chris, you and I are the only two that have ever been to the Washington Correspondent
of this conversation.
Dinner. So,
is that right? When did you go?
I was there in 2004 at the famous.
This is a horrifying story.
There's no weapons of mass destruction here. Narrative of George II, when I thought our country was at its lowest point.
He was at that speech, and guess what table he was sitting at?
I was a media buyer at the time, and I'd bought some network cable, and so I was there as a guest of Fox. So I was in the Fox tent with Roger Ailes and O'Reilly and just everybody that I couldn't stand. So I got out of there as quick as I could and talked to Wesley Clark and felt a little better. But
what was that? Fox in the Hen House? You were the
I was
you were the lone Democrat.
I don't mean to make that about me. It's a very interesting event. It's because a lot of people come together that don't necessarily see each other. I feel like, at least as an advertiser, you never get to see those people. And so it was very strange and very clubby. I felt like people on the right or the left, no matter what, were very clubby with each other. Now, I imagine the tone is very different.
Oh, I think to some extent it still is very cliquey. Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah. But it's always, God, we have stories too. So before I joined the Blade, the Blade brought Kathy Griffin one year. I think it was during Trump's first term, right? And apparently there was some drama. So
I'm sure of it.
Before or after the photo shoot?
Actually, that's a good question. I can't remember. Because that was pretty early on, wasn't it? That was pretty early into its first term.
Yeah.
So it might have been after, as a matter of fact.
But I think you're right.
Crucified for something that, when you consider everything they do, it's like,
Oh yeah, sensitive. Yeah. I always thought it was a place where news was made, but I was surprised that year actually him making fun of his own false claim of that we were in some danger before we attacked a country that hadn't attacked us, that he literally was making fun of it. I thought, well, I don't even know where reality starts anymore now. When he
has Trump ever gone to his own White House correspondent?
Trump is not. And they played footage actually of President Bush and H.W. Bush as well, and Bill Clinton and Barack Obama kind of laughing at themselves and being there over the years, and the message just, it draws a contrast, right? The current president can't laugh at himself.
No.
Yeah.
Christopher Kane, White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. Thank you for always sharing your reporting with us. We absolutely are lucky to have you.
Oh, lucky to be here. Thanks for having me again.
You can read the Blade's journalism in print online at WashingtonBlade.com, and on their website, you can subscribe to their weekly newsletter. Thank you, everyone, for listening and or watching today. Up next on WCPT and AM 950 is the Matt McNeil Show. For folks in Minnesota, stay tuned for Native Roots Radio after that. Connect with us on Blue Sky. We're at thegailyshow.org. And until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Hi, I'm Bruce Klopfleisch. Join me every Sunday at 5 p.m. for Politics Matters. We'll talk about how civics, politics, and law affect you by highlighting a different topic each week.